Welcome back to another special installment of Legend of the Superstition Mountains. We're going to continue to kind of throw some of these up on occasionally on Fridays, kind of where we're at, where we've been, and what we're kind of currently doing as we work on our current episodes and still have Chasing Legends on Monday. So thank you for taking part and watching everything else and watching these videos because they're a little something special, extra treat. This week we made a trip down to Tucson, Arizona to the DeGrazia Gallery of the Sun with the Dawns of Arizona, of which Trevor, myself, and Frank are all a part of. So join us on this trip. I know we did a video before. We'll have some new information and stuff, kind of give you a walkthrough and kind of see what we saw. I don't think you'll get to partake with the wonderful Mexican food we had at Charo's restaurant in downtown Tucson. But all the rest, come on, join us, come along. All right, so DeGrazia's Gallery of the Sun on Skyline down in Tucson by Santa Catalina Mountains. Ted built this place around 1965. So he started it in the early 60s, 65 it was finished up, and it became his home, his art studio, and then he built a main studio. And you're walking through, one of the things that's very cool is the floors. They got the cactus centers, the yucca centers they cut up and used for the floors and stuff. We were already through the sombrero room. Ted's always known for a number of different things and artistic things, watercolors, sketches, oils, different types of things, but also sculptures as well. And he would paint just about anything. So when you're going through the gallery, you're catching all this different stuff and the different styles. They have the gallery broke into various different pieces and parts. They weren't necessarily painted in the same time frames. But they do the collections kind of upon theme. So they have the sombrero room, they have I think it's the 12 stations of the cross room currently on display. The Superstition Mountain collection was not on display. It had been, and they brought it down. That was up here at the Superstition Mountain Museum for a time too. So it's a great collection. But it kind of runs in a bit of religious background, and it runs into various themes and things of DeGrazia's life. There's a nice gift shop, so you can pick up books and information. One of the things I definitely want to touch upon is there's this excellent book. I believe they sell, DeGrazia, The Man and the Myth. Good background. Couple other really excellent books you want to get a hold of if you can find them. And I think I've talked about it before. Tiny Bit of God's Creation by John Dahlman. This is about his travels and the superstitions with DeGrazia. And then DeGrazia's own, this one's very difficult to find. I don't think they print it anymore. DeGrazia and his mountain, The Superstition. And this has the paintings of the Superstition Mountains in it. So that collection. I have quite a number of prints and things of DeGrazia's. And there are some more famous ones like The Flower Boy. And, but it's the Superstition Mountain collection kind of grabs me the most, obviously. He did have a gallery in the Superstitions for some period of time. The city of Apache Junction did not support DeGrazia very much. And he ended up just basically just letting it go and shut it down. One of those ironic things is Ted's hat's in there, his old easel, and his tools and different things, because he built this place by hand with some indigenous people giving him a hand. Each room as you go through, there's fireplaces in the corners of each room. That's because he lived and worked in there and had to have fires and keep himself warm as he built and did each gallery and added it on. But it's a very interesting place. Definitely as you walk through, kind of catches your eye. They do have a section for consignment. I know the family has a few paintings and sketches they're selling. So if you want to purchase something and spend $17,000, $8,000 on a DeGrazia original, you can do that. Bring your checkbook, your credit card, or just cash. But the gallery is very peaceful, very nice. We kind of worked our way through with the Dons, and I'll talk a little on the Dons here in a few minutes. But we kind of worked our way through. There's no music or anything, no other element. I don't know if they have a self-guided thing that explains a lot of the stuff, but most of it's self-explanatory. You're looking at art. I'm not a big art guy necessarily, but I do like looking at the stuff because DeGrazia has a way of telling certain stories. And like I said, he just had a little bit of unusual of a little bit of everything. One of the buildings that he built for the gallery originally was falling apart, and when it went to fall apart, he built a model, a scale model of that place before they tore it down. So it's pretty unusual that you're kind of looking at this place and its manufacture, and you have to realize he was there physically in those rooms with his bottle of whiskey and his cigarettes, and he was just working his way through building the place and continuing to paint and sculpt as he went. And then all these things became a much bigger part of it. I know people told me I bring a black light. There's secret maps on the paintings and stuff. I didn't bother to do that this time. I went just to really enjoy myself. The Dons of Arizona, who've been around since 1931, started out as the Triangle Club, have been around now for over 90 years, and we do outings like this. It's about celebrating, exploring, and educating people on the Southwest. So they have a group of kids they bring out for 6 Fridays during the winter, and that's called Discovery Camp, where we teach them to ranch and rope and gold pan and teach them about indigenous peoples. We take them hiking and stuff. So kids get a little bit of activity at the Dons Camp and the Superstitions. Dons do a lot of wonderful good things. They're a nonprofit organization, and we have meetings monthly, and we have guest speakers and a lot of things. But so be it. I mean, it's a great thing, and we get to see a lot of wonderful things like this. We went down into Tucson a couple trips now in the last year and got to see some great ruins, some Spanish missions, and now here we are with the DeGrazia Gallery, which I've been to before. But as we see the fire pits and stuff like that, it's just very cool because you can picture Ted sitting there, and then there's the photographs all throughout the place. Any photographs can either Ted's going to have a cigarette, a glass of whiskey, or both. But you can see some of them, he's sitting on those little steps there, and it's kind of neat and quaint because you know his presence is very much so there, more than you think. So you're working your way through, and like I said, it was just like he came up with ideas of painting, sculpting, imprinting, just about anything and everything. Where he made a lot of his money and most of his fame came out of was around 1960 for UNICEF. He allowed them to use one of his cards for their greeting cards, and those things went off, and it was like a firecracker. Well, it was actually more like fireworks. And he became world renowned after that because of UNICEF and its worldwide market. So DeGrazia wasn't one to sell a lot of original art. He kept a lot of it, which is where he had the problem of why he burned paintings and had such a problem on what we call the death tax, because the value of what he had way superseded of the amount of money his family would have. So upon his death, he would the family would go broke because of the value of the property, having to pay tax on it. So that got straightened out by this becoming a nonprofit and so forth. In the center of the galleries, they have a little area. It's got trees and cactus and stuff like that. If you use the restrooms, you'll be a little surprised to find there's shower stalls in them because, again, this is a place where they worked and they were building. It was a building in progress. Look in the trees, look in the bushes, look at every little thing. There's a lot of little things. He utilized just about everything. The metal flowers out front that are colored and all over the place, those are actually made out of soda cans and beer cans and stuff. So he utilized anything, everything, and incorporated it into this stuff. So it's very, very cool. The instruments hanging in the trees and the very decorative objects that he found to use to decorate and stuff. And there is no sometimes real theme. It's very eclectic. But it's very relaxing, very special, very nice. And I enjoyed, I just enjoy walking around seeing each and everything and his love and respect. He didn't travel outside of Arizona very much. He was known to stay in the Arizona, New Mexico area, and Mexico. He was born in 1909 in Morency, Arizona, and died in Arizona in 1982. I think in Cannes, France, wanted him to come out for some exhibition or some sort of deal, and DeGrazia turned it down because he felt this is his home and this is where he belonged and so forth. So he had a great deal of respect for the various tribes throughout the communities, painting them, studying them. A number of artworks and books he wrote was about his relationships with them. So he had kind of this touch in it. For every eccentricity, there was some sort of super moment of kindness or some seriousness about the plight and various things concerning different people. He came from, really more humble beginnings, and he kind of rose up and became who he was, which was, it's pretty, as an artist, he understood the idea of marketing and without selling your soul, but getting the word out there. And it is kind of the juxtaposition of who he was. He hung out with prospectors. The only time he basically took off outside of going out to the reservations was to visit the Superstition Mountains, which he did quite frequently. That was his relaxation. He is buried there on the grounds. You can visit his grave. There's a kind of a rock pyramid to, I believe, just the west of it, and then there's a bell above his gravesite. So you can visit the burial site of Ted DeGrazia. He is actually buried there on the property. But like I was saying, is you're kind of going through all this and looking basically his handyman artwork, kind of the way he devised it, put it through. And some people say, well, if he didn't drink so much and he wasn't just kind of so out there, imagine what he could have accomplished. I think it's the testament of the man. He accomplished the vision he wanted to. And when you get there, you realize this is what he wanted to build. And he showed us how you can do that. You don't have to have millions and millions of dollars to build something like this. You can do something very wonderful, very beautiful, very natural, aesthetic, and use whatever you can get your hands on. So as you walk through the grounds, you find a lot. They have restored partially, since I was last there, the chapel. The chapel had caught fire and burned up. And the last time we were there, it was still showing the signs and the effects of all that. They partially restored it. They didn't fully restore it. They restored what they could, but some of the murals they only partially restored from the fire. So they kind of, I think where the murals were still visible, They actually helped color those in, and they're faint, but where the murals were completely destroyed, they didn't try to replicate his artwork. They just allowed those to be missing. So I thought that was kind of a nice touch, but the chapel is, once again, kind of put together and nice and clean and so forth, and the charred wood and everything's gone. So it's kind of a special place unto itself, and we had a little before and after concerning kind of showing you kind of the looks of what it was at one time and where it is. Somewhere we have the charred film. I think it probably is in a video somewhere in the Chasing Legends sections from when we visited down there last time. It was a wonderful day. It was a very cool day. It was nice, and it was a bit breezy. Of course, Ted, I've always thought you can drink and smoke and do whatever you want there, so I've never refrained, because I figured that's what he did as he went around. So, but I find it very relaxing. Most people there are pretty cool. They do have staff that walk around, will answer some questions and stuff. They're pretty knowledgeable, and they like to hear and share stories about Ted and, you know, the people they know and the people involved with it. His second wife ran this place for many, many years after his death in 1982. So she ran this, and I know before his death he had the Superstition gallery, but then he closed that down and that thing fell, and I think he ended up selling the building off because he got no support locally on that. Big shame. But the chapel is wonderful. That is now, things are put back together, and I don't know exactly what you would say, consecrated or whatever it is, but it has that opening up on the top, and the air and everything gets in, and it just has that natural feel to everything he did. It's a very practical sense, and I think most people that go in there would find, wow, you know, it's really nice. Another thing is you find all the rooms and things you go into with the thick adobe walls are very, very cool. They retain the cool air of the mornings, the nights and the mornings. They don't heat up much. So as you go through and you walk the grounds, it's kind of special because you're getting to see, kind of go back in time, because in 1960s he started this, 65 finish. He constantly was adding up onto this, and there was work being done, and his gallery, he was continually art, and his paintings and his sculptures, and all these things continued up until his death. So it was constantly a work in progress. And the week we went in, it was a guest artist coming in. They have a guest artist building, and they were coming in to paint in there. So they still invite people to come in and paint and do things there. So that's very cool. But the original house, a lot of things are there. There's some photographs throughout the place that are just kind of unique to themselves of Ted during his time out there gathering the materials and stuff, and during the construction stuff. So, and you kind of get a nice quaint feel, but you get also that very humble kind of, like, this guy wasn't looking to spend millions and whatever. I think he put the money into his whiskey and maybe his cigars, but that was probably it. I think for the most part of what he was doing was he was just putting the money into it, making sure his family got what they have, and just trying to do some good in the world. And I think he was a bit more misunderstood than people think. Now, a lot of people look at his personal history, and I know he had at least 3 children. 2 sons and a daughter. I think maybe the only surviving one's Domingo. But it's a kind of an odd thing, because if you ever see an interview, he would sometimes say that he had 14 children or 17 children. He was known for that. But it was a very interesting trip. We had some excellent Mexican food at Charo's in downtown Tucson. So if you come out, the gallery's down there. You just look up Gallery of the Sun, and it'll take you to the DeGrazia Gallery of the Sun. It's not a bad trip from Phoenix, maybe 2 hours. And it's on the outskirts north of Tucson. I don't remember what admission was. It wasn't nothing alarming, but it's a very nice, relaxing, comfortable place there. It's very interesting. Kind of set your piece of tone. I enjoy going there. And then of course Tucson's known for all its Mexican food restaurants all through. Again, recommend Charo's. That was some really good food we had. We were in the Day of the Dead room out there by the bar with the Dons. So, and thank you to the Dons. You know, we organized this trip, and a number of us go out, and I had a really good time. I think Trevor did too. He was filming. I wasn't paying much attention to him at the time. I was just enjoying myself, and we weren't looking like to do necessarily video. He's just been filming as we go out. So we thought that would be cool to do that type of presentation for everyone. A kind of a little of, okay, this is where we've been and this is what we're doing sometimes. We're not always in the mountains. When we're not in the mountains, it somehow has particularly something to do with the Southwest or the mountains or whatnot. So if you get a chance, pick up the books, The DeGrazia Man or the Myth. And like I said, if you find this book, A Tiny Bit of God's Creation, it's an excellent read. It's a very different read. It's not a treasure hunter's book. It's not a Lost Dutchman book. It's kind of a little bit about the stories and the time that John Dahlman and John DeGrazia and Ted DeGrazia spent in there. So, you know, another trip out to Ted DeGrazia's, and I hope everybody enjoys. If you guys are watching these and enjoying, we're going to keep doing them when we go out and make trips out. We're still working on the Legends stuff. We're still working on other stuff. But it's kind of fun to do this. We could do lives, and we've talked about during the week maybe doing a live or something about some subject matter. Have the Chasing Legends on Mondays, and as we work on the episodes, and Sunsets the film, which should be out sometime this summer. As all these different components and parts come out, it's kind of neat to do something like this and share. This is how we're relaxing. So literally you're getting to see the film of when we're relaxing and just going out and just relax, having fun. Please go take a chance if you get to the Goldfield Ghost Town Museum, the Superstition Mountain Museum, or the OK Corral gift shop. Look it up. It's The Dutchman's Trail by Jesse James Feldman. So kind of grab a copy of that. We did that review on Chasing Legends. Jesse thanked me very much, and he didn't need to because I told him I would. And I really did enjoy the book. Moved on to another book, and I might do a short review and a Chasing Legends of that one. So thanks for joining us on another special episode of Legends of the Superstition Mountains. Another one to put in the archives. Catch us on Mondays for the Chasing Legends episodes. Here shortly, the Legend of the Superstition Mountains, which we're still working and actually out actively filming on this stuff. But until the next time, Frank didn't make it out down with us. He kind of passed on this trip, and I was sorry to say that because I really wanted to kind of get down there because I think we might have filmed some stuff talking and looking around since we spent so much time on the DeGrazia stuff. But for myself, Frank, Eric, and Woodrow, I'd like to tell everybody, take care of yourselves. Thank you for watching. Until the next time, of course, always remember, I'm Wayne Tuttle, you're not, and this was a special edition of Legend of the Superstition Mountains.